Kevin Nagandi and Jay Harris, I'm Lindsay Zarnia.
Coming up, it was 1 year ago today that Kevin Durant announced that he'd signed with the Warriors. Going to look back at KD's top plays with Golden State from this season.
We're going to begin our top hour with the #1 pick in the NBA draft making his debut. Summer League Markelle Fultz against the team that was expected to draft him. That was the Celtics. Instead, they switch picks. They get Jayson Tatum with a 3rd pick. Fultz looking to prove something.
I got a winning nature. I just want to show that I'm an unselfish player. And just that while I was the #1 pick, really, just giving it my all.
First game for the #1 draft pick overall since February 18th. Coming out of the University of Washington. In control the entire time. Look at that spin move right there. A little touch and roll around in Utah. Against the Celtics in the Summer League action, he had a team-high 17 points. Had 1 assist, could have had more. Teammates, though, missed some shots. Outside jumper, silky smooth. KD tweeting out, Fultz with that pull-up jumper. He appreciates what he saw. Fultz getting it done on the defensive side. Get out! 6'4", 195 pounds, 7-foot wingspan, had 3 blocks on the night, and Joel processing. Loving that, ordering a Shirley Temple for everyone in Philadelphia. Yeah, just over 5 seconds of play. Sixers down 1. Fultz driving. Sixers told him, the coaches, to drive past his man. He did with the help defense of Jaylen Brown there. Only could do so much, the rookie. Impressive stuff. The Celtics, though, would win 89-88 because, Jay.
Yeah, on the other side, the C's have a pretty good rookie themselves, 3rd overall pick, Jayson Tatum. Looking great in his Summer League debut. Driving to the cup, little left-hand finish. Showing range, knocking down the corner 3, hit 10 threes in a viral video after practice the other day, a shooting contest with Jaylen Brown. He should have a dunk contest next time. Driving the lane, skying for the slam. Showing off some athleticism. Oh, yes. And Celtics GM Danny Ainge in the crowd, and he looks like, that dunk's got me daydreaming. I see championships. I'm going to add to the banners. What a great pick I made. Yes. Yes. Now only if we can get Gordon Hayward. Yes. 4th quarter, Tatum. Oh, he really took over. And the foul there. Jaylen Brown celebrating with it after the play. Then the game got close. Under 3 to go. So who's got it? Tatum's got it. Pulling up for the jumper. Top of the key. C's up 2. I heard the C's would be trailing by 1. 10 seconds to play. So Tatum again. Yes. Showing great poise down the stretch, rising up, dropping the J, the game-winning jumper. Here is Tatum on that final play.
I just try to get back, to my sweet spot, mid-range, and, say a prayer. It went in.
21 points, 11 in the 4th, 7 rebounds, 5 steals. Again, the Celtics win by 1, 89-88. Lindsay Zarniak.
Thank you, Jay Harris. He made it fun to watch, Jayson Tatum did. We welcome in our front office insider, Tom Penn. So Tatum, a great game in his debut for Boston. We know that Gordon Hayward may end up in Boston. So as we wait for that, let's hypothetically say that he does end up there. How does that lineup look to you?
Yeah, how about Tatum with the start? That is just what you want. With the Celtics, they are so deep and have been balanced. So Isaiah Thomas is the point guard. Let's go to Bradley as a dynamic 2-guard. Slide over to Crowder, their tough guy who's played forward for him. Horford, the man in the middle, they gave him a bunch of money. And then here's that big cap space they have. Who fits best in there? Danny Ainge's only option that he's been after really all along has been Gordon Hayward because it fits. His max money would just about match up with the amount of space they have. Why would he be the great fit? Well, now let's think about how deep they are on their bench and what they can bring in to complement. Look, Tatum just showed he can do something here. So I'll bring him over and put him in the small forward position. Play those guys together. Switch. Now you're starting to look like the Warriors where these guys can all switch positions and play different roles. Jaylen Brown, the number 3 pick from last year, is improving. Marcus Smart, another point guard option. Terry Rozier, another point guard option. You see how they have the ability to mix and match here with like players. And then Hayward is just major production. He scored 22 a game. He shot over 47% and over 40 from 3, rebounds the ball, overall player efficiency rating very high. He just does it all. And then what I liked about him was the way he performed under pressure in the playoffs for Utah. He got pressure proof, he got pressure packed. They went to him, he produced. So that means you can take the pressure off of this guy, Isaiah Thomas. He doesn't have to do it all. He's got another option right behind him who can come out and lead with him. Those two can be dynamic finishers. And then look at Tatum peeking out there. He may be coming. Look, it's one summer league game, but what you just saw in those highlights is he's like a mini version of him. They're both very similar.
And we heard Chris Haynes saying that the Celtics feel really confident that he actually might pick them, right? So you got to think, looking at this is a team that can win.
Well, they better, because if he doesn't pick them, that $29 million might go to waste. Because in a year from now, they got to give it to Isaiah Thomas and they got to give it to Avery Bradley if they want to keep him. Because these two numbers, 6.3, 8.8, no more. They're going to be way up there.
The other question we have this morning is the GM situations, right? We see Chauncey Billups turn down the Cavs GM position, and then we know that the Knicks are working on a potential trade involving Carmelo Anthony, right? How does something like that happen potentially with two teams that do not have GMs currently?
Well, they don't have their GMs from last year, so to speak, but they do have decision makers. Dan Gilbert is making all the decisions in Cleveland. We know that. Steve Mills is still there in New York. So Steve Mills was at the right hand or the left hand of Phil Jackson the whole time. He preceded Phil Jackson. Steve knows his way around how to do deals. The real question is, if it gets complicated, if you're talking about a three-way trade, if you're talking about really overhauling the roster, that's when the coach's voice comes in. So are these coaches they have a seat at the table as well? Does the coach in New York have the opportunity to express what he wants in terms of making the team, or does management view the coach as maybe a part-time guy who's there for now? They want to build this right for the long haul. That's the dynamic that goes on. A good general manager needs to build consensus across ownership, across coach, and across the rest of the organization. It'll be a challenge for anybody to do that at this point.
Sounds like it could be a mess.
Could be. But if it's an easy one-for-one deal, they can do it.
All right, Tom Penn, thank you. Always great to have your insight.
Anything but just being around good people and getting better every single day. And let's just have some fun playing ball. Let's just all get better and see what happens.
I'll put in work. We prevail. We're the champions. It was amazing.
It is amazing, and he's coming back. Kevin Durant signing a 2-year, $53 million deal on Monday. We bring in our pal, the man who brought it, NBA insider Chris Haynes. It's not bad money, but relative to what we've seen in the NBA, boy, it's a bargain. How did this one go down, Chris?
It's more than bargain. It's a damn right steal. Look, Kevin Durant, usually when you finish a season so strong and you're going into free agency, you want to cash out.
Yeah.
Durant gave a little bit of cash back, a little bit too much if you ask me. It was a little bit, he didn't have to do that, but I think it shows Kevin Durant's willingness to keep this thing together long term. And so when you talk about what he did, rival teams are looking at Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, a couple years down the road, thinking that they possibly may bolt. But it will be very difficult for them to do so and try to find higher pastors, more money, a better role, when Kevin Durant took almost close to $10 million less to keep this thing intact. So I think it really shows that all that talk they were doing all season long about sacrificing on the court, they're showing that they're willing to do it off the court and in their paycheck.
Boy, are they ever. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Kevin Durant did just that. Let's talk about the Gordon Hayward World Tour.
He knew it was going to happen sooner or later and make it sooner. Durant opted out but made it clear he would return. 2-year deal with the Warriors worth approximately $53 million. In just moments, we'll find out exactly why it's that particular length and that amount of money and what could be to come. Our Chris Haynes broke the story, and he is here. So the NBA's first $200 million man is Curry, Livingston, Iguodala, West, and now the big one, KD. Tell me why it's 2 years and the money. What's this all about?
Well, look, the money is all about Kevin Durant. Look, that is a selfless act. A guy who's coming off of winning the finals, MVP, coming back and taking about $9 million less than what his max is. He's doing that to be able to have the Warriors go out there and have enough room to be able to bring somebody else in, be a free agency. And I was also told that part of that 2-year deal, the second year, is a player option in which he would likely, as of right now, decline that player option, do it again, and then the following year, he will qualify for the super max. Now, what that means right now for the Warriors, look, you got a guy that's willing to make sure this core sticks together. He declined his option in the first place last month, which allowed the Warriors to retain the bird rights to Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala. And so now you see how they were able to get paid, and Durant is still doing that. Man, I've never seen anything like this. When I got the word this was going down, I was like, what? Excuse me, how much? For Durant? We talking Durant here? And I'm surprised. I think like everybody else is.
So we'll call it the Durant discount for now, if you could call $53 million a discount. But after you saw him in the NBA Finals, I think we know exactly what Chris is talking about. So let's think about this macro. You got a $200 million player in Steph Curry. This guy is eventually going to get his money. Iguodala got his money. Livingston and West, smaller deals. Clay's going to have to get his money. Joe Lacob, the owner, has said, money is no object, not just a cliche. We're willing to do whatever. So you tell me, eventually, with the salaries and then the luxury tax, how much money are they going to be shelling out to keep this intact?
Well, it's going to get bizarre, and it's going to get. But look, Zoop, when you have a roster that's put together right now, look, people jumping on them talking about it's a super team, they did it the wrong way. Well, most of their guys are guys that they drafted and they developed into these type of players.
Correct.
And so the Warriors are always going to have the right to pay whatever they want to pay, they'll but keep them because those are bird guys. Now, with that being said, couple years from now, when Clay is a free agent, Draymond's a free agent, there will be a tough decision to be made. But look, when you have a guy like Kevin Durant, a newbie to the team, saying, hey, look, I'm going to take less to make sure this gets done, you will have to think that other guys will fall in line when it's their turn to do the same thing, to try to keep this dynasty in place. But that's a problem down the road. As of right now, they're just happy that they have a couple more years to be able to keep this championship core intact.
So it's follow the leader. Again, the bird rights, named after Larry Bird, essentially allows teams to kind of retain their own free agents, giving them an incentive to stay with the team that drafted them. And as Chris said, obviously, most of the Warriors are homegrown. This guy's an exception, but obviously most of them are homegrown. All right, so most of the guys have been taken care of here. They did have 9 free agents, though, when we began at 12:01 a.m. Saturday morning. So in your mind, what's the biggest priority left for the champs?
Next, out of the free agents that the Warriors have, JaVale McGee.
JaVale McGee.
And I know that for a lot of people that may sound strange, but look at what JaVale McGee has done this year. He has been a consistent producer off the bench for the Warriors. He gives them that aerial threat. And that's that's kind of a change of pace when you look at, they start with Zaza Pachulia, a guy who's a rugged defender, but he doesn't get off the ground. When JaVale comes in, that changes the game tremendously. Draymond Green, Stephen Curry is able to get inside the paint, throw the ball up, and allow JaVale McGee to go do what he does. And they play him in limited minutes, which limits a lot of his blunders. And it's just the perfect situation and perfect team for his skill set. And so if they don't bring him back, then you're talking about Zaza Pachulia, possibly, he's a free agent, and then David West. 2 similar guys who stay on the ground.
Below the basket.
Below the basket. You need that above the basket threat in JaVale McGee. I think he's their next priority.
Did you hear that, Shaq? JaVale McGee. You heard it here first from Chris Haynes. A home run move today with the Warriors getting Durant at a discount. Chris, thank you.
We're in really good shape right now to have this opportunity. Pass is the pass. It's definitely fueled us. Why not take care of business?
Redemption. The Warriors are NBA champions again.
That they are. Mike Breen, and according to his partner Jeff Van Gundy, playing that on a loop for many Junes to come may not really be that much of a stretch. But many teams in the NBA stretching every dollar in every conceivable scenario to try and catch them as NBA free agency hits its 3rd day. How will the West be won? With a ton of firepower. You know the deal. What's already been done? Let's take a look. Here's what's next. You got the Hayward watch coming up. Where's Melo headed? You know the deal with the no-trade clause. And the next tier of free agents still to be decided, guys like Otto Porter and Danilo Gallinari. Words that will literally make NBA fans stop. Woj has news. He literally was just on his phone just like a second away. If I could just tear you away from it for 1 second, Adrian is here. First things first, we talked about Hayward here, the biggest, most sought-after free agent available at this moment. What are you hearing? What's your phone telling you?
Well, as we speak, the Jazz are still in a meeting with him in San Diego, where Hayward has an off-season home. Jazz general manager Dennis Lindsey, their coach Quinn Snyder, his best friend on the team, Joe Ingles, who just agreed to a $50 million plus deal the other day. And part of their ownership group drove down from L.A. last night to San Diego, and they're making their case, getting really the last crack here at Gordon Hayward before he's got to make his decision.
Let's think about Hayward here. In his 7 years in the league, he's increased his scoring each of his first 7 years, blossoming into a terrific player. Could be ending up back in Utah. Pretty sure George Hill won't after the Ricky Rubio news. So where might he be headed?
And that was a big part of it. Gordon Hayward loved the idea of Ricky Rubio as their point guard there. That was part of the reason for that trade.
Okay.
George Hill, sources tell Ramona Shelburne and I, he is in L.A. today, meeting with the Lakers. They're in a meeting as we speak with their management, Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka. And they're discussing a one-year deal at a fairly significant number with injuries, with a toe injury that lingered all through last year. The market hasn't been kind to George Hill this summer. He wanted a longer-term contract. What he may be able to get here in L.A. now is a partnership with Lonzo Ball for 1 year, and the Lakers keep their salary cap space going forward with Hill. If they do a one-year deal, they're talking seriously. There's interest on both sides.
That toe injury really hampered them in their playoff series against Golden State. So if you're a Utah Jazz fan watching us somewhere around this country, keep your eye on Southern California, whether it's San Diego with Hayward or in L.A. with George Hill. Last thing, Carmelo Anthony, the no-trade clause. We obviously saw what's happened to the Knicks organization with Phil Jackson, Steve Mills ascending possibly all the way to the top. We'll wait to see about that. What is the latest on this guy?
Well, Cleveland had been he had been willing to waive his no trade for Cleveland throughout this process. That was the one team. What we reported last night would change is Houston is now on that list. He is open to waiving his no trade if Houston or Cleveland can find an avenue to get a deal done in New York. The reason it's changed with Houston, Chris Paul went from L.A. to Houston, teamed up with James Harden, and that's put Houston in the game here.
I want to ask you one quick follow-up on Carmelo. We're going to keep talking to you because obviously the news is continuing to break here. Real quick on Melo, the previous relationship with Mike D'Antoni in New York fizzled. D'Antoni comes back. He's the coach of the year. Would he have to acquiesce to D'Antoni now instead of the other way around in New York?
I think it is a concern. It is going to have to be talked through. I think the difference and what the Rockets are hoping for, it will not be Carmelo's team. He's going to be a third option on that team. The ball, they're not playing through Carmelo Anthony the way Mike D'Antoni had to play through him in New York. And I think, listen, this is a league about accumulating talent right now to go at Golden State. If he ends up in Houston, management there believes Mike D'Antoni and Carmelo Anthony are going to have to figure it out.
They'll have to coexist. As Daryl Morey said, it is indeed a weapons race. Utah's biggest weapon for the moment, they hope, is Gordon Hayward. Back to Hayward. What's the timetable on this sort of stuff? We waited till 12:01, breathlessly following all your tweets the other night. But now, what's the timetable for him? Because he seems like he's the biggest fish out there at this very moment.
Well, listen, going into this, he had hoped maybe 24, 48 hours. But I think that this is very likely going to be a really difficult decision for him because he's got a great situation in Utah. They've got good young talent. He's become an all-star there. He's playing with a great general manager, a coach who's built an offensive system around him. Miami, Boston are very attractive. There's a lot to like there. So this will take on a life of its own. To predict how long it takes someone to make this kind of a life decision, I don't think this is going to be easy. And I do know in talking to people close to Gordon, he's really laboring over this.
No question about it. Obviously, in Boston, the possible reunion with Brad Stevens, what a story that would be. Or what a better story. Maybe a small market franchise like Utah being able to keep somebody of his talent. But let's get back to the phone because I know you've been eyeing it. It's nothing personal against me. I get it. Adrian, thanks a lot. We'll have you back as soon as anything breaks. I have a feeling that might be pretty soon. Adrian, thank you very much. Still to come, deals for Curry, Livingston, Iguodala done. Durant soon, making the Warriors' biggest remaining priority what? You might be surprised at the answer from our Warriors insider. That's coming up in just a
First pick in the 2017 NBA Draft. The 76ers select Markelle Fultz.
It's unbelievable, really. Something I've been dreaming about.
He's already promising some big-time things. The Sixers did not get much big-time production out of the point guard position last year. Phillies point guards average 9 points a game, with only the Bulls averaging fewer. In fact, the last Sixers guard of any kind to average 20 a game, AI. That was over 10 years ago. Now he's playing 3-on-3 for Ice Cube. No pressure there, Markelle. The scoring wasn't an issue for Fultz in college. Put up over 23 points per game a year ago, and his one-and-done year at Washington would happen to be the most of any major conference player. Fultz in action tonight. He's going to be taking on Tatum, so the 1-3 swap rears its head again. Mark J. Spears is in Salt Lake City, so you tell me, tip-off 7 Eastern, less than an hour away. You're on the court. What's the buzz for these two getting together for the first time of many, I would think?
Well, everybody's excited about Markelle Fultz's debut. Luck would have it that he would be playing against the Boston Celtics in his first Summer League game. You know, the Celtics decided not to take him, traded down 2 spots with Philly, and instead took the 3rd pick. They were asked, he was asked about whether or not it bothered him that the Celtics did that or that he's playing him the first game. And he said, no, it's just another Summer League game. I don't believe that. I met this kid at the Hoop Summit last year, and I asked him about Josh Jackson being the #1 ranked kid on ESPN. He said, well, I think I'm the #1 ranked kid. So this kid's pretty competitive. He's giving us some coach speak. I think he'll be pretty fired up to play against the Celtics after they passed on him.
Hey, Mark, on the other side with Tatum, I got to ask you this. Ainge famously said the reason we traded down is because the guy we wanted at 1, we could get at 3, which leads me to believe they're super high on him if they were going to select him at 1. I know all the talk is about Fultz, but what's this other kid saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and Danny Ainge really liked Tatum. You know, behind us a little while ago, Jaylen Brown, the second-year player of the Celtics, was working with Tatum, and Tatum's kind of like lodged to his hip now. This is his mentor, even though he's only been in the league a year. So both of them are working hard. They're the first one in, the last one's out, just like he was a year ago as a rookie. So keep an eye on those 2 guys, but I don't think Tatum's going to be a big impact player for the Celtics this year, kind of like Jaylen Brown, probably about 10 to 15 minutes a game. But the Celtics certainly have excitement with these 2 young guys working together to become great.
Yeah, the future is indeed bright, not to mention all those draft picks. On the other side here, Chauncey Billups has turned down the Cavs general manager position. You spoke to Mr. Big Shot about passing on this shot. What is he saying? Why?
Well, it was somewhat surprising. Hey, look, there's only 1 of 30 of these jobs in the NBA, and he passed on it, and he just told me it wasn't the right fit and it wasn't the right time. He said there was a perception out there that his family did not want him to go to Cleveland. He said that was completely false, that they had his back into the entire thing if he wanted to come to Cleveland. I also asked him, I said, hey, did you consult with LeBron James? He said, no. I said, well, is LeBron's situation in Cleveland, the fact that he could be a free agent in 2018, a factor as well? And he said, no, it wasn't. He did consult with Tyronn Lue, the coach, longtime friend. But all in all, Chauncey passes, and Cleveland's still looking for a general manager. I mean, actually a president.
No question about it. As weird as it sounds, the team that's been to 3 straight NBA finals and has the best player on planet Earth needs somebody to head the operation. Unbelievable. It's not going to be Chauncey. Who will it be?
You should take the job, man. It pays well.
That's true. That's true. Let me see if I can get out of my contract here in the next hour.
You got a good job,
minutes.
though. You're good.
That's true. And you're going to be watching some good players today at the Summer League. Mark, thank you very much. Tatum and Fultz, and I'll keep an eye on that Cavs job. Dan Gilbert, if you're watching, call me. Summer League. Thunder, Knicks. Speaking of teams that need some leadership, the Cavs need some. The Knicks need a GM, too. We talked about that with Woj early, and Markelle Brown putting the Thunder up early. You know what the Summer League's about. It's about making a name for yourself, maybe trying to get yourself on a training camp roster, and Brown did his part, 20 points, 2 steals. Damian Dotson from downtown. Steve Mills, who might be the team president, is at the Summer League. A lot of decisions to make with the Knicks. Josh Hustis will finish 99-87, although the score tends to be immaterial at the NBA Summer League. It's about making a name for yourself. How about the Magic and the Mavs? Love this kid, Jonathan Isaac. Played his college basketball one-and-done year at Florida State, so from North Florida, shifting on down to Central Florida. He's been great. He struggled shooting in his first game over the weekend, but nobody's stopping that in the paint. His rebounding and block shots were there in his first game. Puts a little more weight on that body. He's going to be